Hey, Gary here. Welcome to Book Mob, episode 14. I've got an excellent episode lined up for you guys today, and I hope you stick around and watch the entirety of it. I had the pure pleasure of speaking with English horror writer and former policeman Ian Backhouse. Now, the two books we discuss of his are Beneath the Dark and my personal favourite, Alice Malign. Both horror books, both well written, both enjoyable, both engaging, and both hitting the mark as far as if you're a horror fan and you like to get stuck into the underworlds. Well, these two books are for you. Like the promo that I showed just before the intro is from Ian's book Alice Malign. So we had a varied chat. We talked about independent publishing. We talk about how writers and publishers can be one and the same, thanks to technology and thanks to people taking their own work and putting it out in the world. And this is basically what Book Mob really loves to promote. We want to promote people who are going to be saying, I've got a story to tell. I'm going to work hard at it. I'm going to do everything for it, because independent publishing is the wave of the future. Well, that's what I think. And there's nothing better than watching an artist, a writer, a performer, someone who creates their own world and puts it out onto the marketplace. And Ian certainly has done that with a number of books to his name, and he's continuing to write and create. And the two books that I read in preparation for our talk were fantastic. And all of the links to Ian Backhouse's books available on Amazon will be put down in the description of our discussion. So please give him a look, take a risk, buy a book, read a book. Remember, Book Mob's all about reading and bookshops and writers and independent writers. So Ian is going to, I guess basically you're going to see the cold face of independent writers of an independent writer who's taking his work to the world. We had a great conversation, so let's go to the videotape. Hey, hello, Ian. It's good to meet you.
Gary? Yeah, and you?
Is it? Are you writing? Are you actually up writing right now before this interview?
Actually, I tell you what I've been doing is redoing. I ordered a copy just to check of Beneath the Dark, the first novel I did, because I've come away from the publisher and gone independent, and it turned up and it was it's my own fault. It was too big, so I've now been having the usual fun with Amazon trying to get that correct, and I've done it about 3 times and it's still not correct. So yeah, I have been sort of writing, but admin, if you like, on the first book. So there you go.
Well, and you know what is great? It's great to hear that you went independent, because I truly think that is the way to go. Because everyone who knows who writes, how long would it take you to get a book published through I mean, it takes years.
Yeah, I did. I got the way it all started. I got picked up by an independent publisher, sort of mid-level publisher called Cranthorpe Milner, on the first book. I was kind of lucky. I wrote because like you say, I was expecting to send off the sample chapters and then probably either get nothing back or something for months and months. And within about 2 weeks, I got an email from them saying, "Oh yeah, we like this. It's interesting. Send us the manuscript." And I was kind of pleased, but then thought, maybe. And then 2 weeks later, sorry, this is Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah, 1-year-old Malinois. Sorry. And then got an email back from them 2 weeks later, and they offered me a publishing contract for the one book. So that was great, because that sort of gave me confidence, which was fantastic. But it went really well. I sold about 250 copies within the sort of first 8 weeks, which was like really unexpected. And then it's sort of leveled out and gone nicely over the year, and you sort of, I worked with them to do a lot of because from talking to all this, it takes so much work. The work really begins after that. All the promoting is just like 24/7, and obviously they're only a mid-sized publisher, so they didn't invest. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were great. I'm not sort of slagging them off, but they only have a certain amount of time to invest in you, and I felt, whether it's true or not, I felt that sort of the enthusiasm slid off a bit. I'm sure they might tell you slightly different, but that's how I kind of generally felt. And when it happened a little bit too much, and I was working really hard to try and keep things going, and it was going fine, but it took a lot of work. When I came to do the second book, Polly Mordaunt, who has been fantastic sort of mentor. She's brilliant and really guided me, another UK author, horror author, and guided me through the process of independent publishing. But initially I spoke to her about it and quite a few other authors, because I'll be honest, I was a bit kind of snobby about it when it first it's great to be published, but it was an okay experience. But what I then found was, like you said, the industry is really, really sort of looking towards independent publishing and independent authors. They seem to be getting people, the general public seem to have no problem trying out independent authors. And I kind of hadn't really done my research. I didn't realise how popular it was. Yeah. Sorry, my Alan was trying to play with me.
No, that's all right. But I like him. He's good.
And, I didn't realise that. And I very, very quickly, from advice from others, thought, this is brilliant. You get so much more control. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I'm not doing it for the money. One day, maybe. But that said, you get a hell of a lot bigger royalties. But for me, it really genuinely is a passion of doing it. And it's wonderful. I could design the covers how I wanted them designed, because kind of art's one of my things as well. And it was just brilliant. You can say when you publish it, you can do all these, the pre-order. It's amazing. So I was really sold on that. And I'm really glad I've gone that. I'm sort of proud of gone that way, actually, because I think also the more of us do that, the more we can support each other. For sure. And make it a real thing. And I think, to be honest, dare I say it, I think some of the larger publishing houses have got to be careful. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot if they carry on being too picky and too self-absorbed, because they're going to miss a lot of great authors who go, well, thanks to you, then I'll go independent and be great.
I agree, because it reminds me, in the 1980s, I used to take a lot of photographs for bands. And,
cool.
You go to, I used to live in the, when I was young, I used to live in the inner city, and I relate what I saw there in music in the 80s was that bands got together. They would never get a contract, not because they weren't any good or whatever, for whatever reason. And I remember it started young bands putting out their own singles, their own, this is vinyl, LPs, and making their own labels. Yeah, I think it's reached. I think authors now with technology, I think technology is the thing that freed it up. Is that you write what you want and sell it to who you want to.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that, and I think what it also does, or what it certainly did for me, it made me pay a lot more attention to the after editing and really making sure that I must have probably I probably uploaded about at least 10 or 12 manuscripts for the same book. And I downloaded it. No, I spotted another one. I spotted another. So, but I think that makes you improve the quality of your work. But I know what you're saying about bands, because for a long time I was a professional drummer, and before that I was it was more sort of theatre and stuff like that rather than bands. But I did play in bands when I was younger. I loved all that, and it's like you say, it's exactly the same. You had some brilliant bands out there, but these A&R men were just. It got to the point where they were still trying to promote bands or get bands on board in the same way that when they were in the 70s, and this is like the 80s. It doesn't work like that anymore. No. So a lot of them went their own way, and I think a lot of those record companies missed out. And it's exactly the same, I think, with publishing now. But you're right with the technology. If it wasn't for Amazon and those sort of people, us sort of indie authors would still be a bit stuck. It becomes vanity publishing where, and that's a dirty word, but it's where you've got to pay the whole shebang. So I'm grateful, very grateful for that. And Amazon actually do a great job. And I'm not just saying it, the customer, so like the emails, when you help them, amazing. They're back to you like within hours, which is
fantastic. Know why? Is because you're a marketplace.
I suppose the more they look after us, the more sales hopefully they're going to make, which is fine. It's a good motivation because it does make them a good service, I suppose. But I mean, they're obviously motivated by the sales, but then that's fine. You know that. So
and also, can I ask, when did you actually start writing, Ian? Like seriously?
When I was about Ronnie. When I was about, he's normally in bed by now in his crate, but he thinks this is marvelous. Oh, I'm up. Great, we can play with.
And you're sitting down.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I wanted to get a proper angle. I started when I'm always at school. It's when the English lesson came along, and it's we're writing a story today. But the first time I wrote a novel, and I'm only laughing because it was so awful. But I was about 12.
That's good.
And it was called Disciples of the Oak. I was talking about to Louise, my wife, today. Disciples of the Oak, about sort of some druid cult or something. And it really, I'm so glad I haven't got it anymore because I just couldn't even bear to read it. But it was so rubbish. But I remember I emailed authors at the time and just asking for advice. And one of the best pieces of advice I got was one of the guys. I wish I knew who it was. I can't remember. But said, whatever you do, just finish it. Just finish the book. Because he said, otherwise, you're going to write loads of books that are not great at first, but they'll get better and better. But they'll always be the beginning of books and never the ends. So I did stick with it. I did finish it, and that gave me the sort of the will to carry on and start hopefully writing better. And also, I mean, Beth, you've got no life experience, have you, at that age? So even if you might be the best writer in the world, if you're some kind of genius, but you've got no life experience.
So even at age 12, you were coming from a horror perspective.
Sorry, say again about being 12.
When it was about druids, is that right? The first
it was because.
And so, did you start at horror at that age?
Yeah.
Is that what your focus was?
Yeah, it was because I was a big fan of. I've always, even when I was young, I loved the paranormal. Whether anything I'd be interested in anything, whether it was something that kind of made a bit of scientific sense, or it's a ghost hunting program is probably a bit silly, but it was good fun. So I'd always been into that, and that led me into reading James Herbert. One of the top UK guy, unfortunately not with us anymore. And he became my favourite author. And then kind of secondly Stephen King, but I was into James Herbert because they weren't bricks, so I could actually read them, within 2 years. And you could read them quite quickly, and they were just often they were great stories, great sort of British feel horror stories, ghost stories. So I loved that, and I just wanted to. At first, I just wanted to copy him, and just see if I could write anything slightly similar. Sorry, it's my dog.
It's okay, no worries.
Right. That's, and I think that because that's where that supernatural and paranormal interest was, it was a natural thing to sort of want to make up those kind of stories as a kid, and that's why it's always been horror that I've written. I did start because again I was a police officer in London for 12 years.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of in between drumming, or actually, not that they'd have been pleased at the time. I actually continued to do quite a bit of work there because I was in London. Really good. Yeah. But anyway, I can say that now. Where was I? I've lost my thread now.
You were saying about when you were writing the types of books you wanted to write, and basically not copying, but trying to make.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh god, yes, that's what I was going to say. That's right. God, that's because it's 10 o'clock here. See, 10 o'clock at night. The brain's fading. No, it's because I did start a crime novel, which I think one day I might do. But you know how Stephen King writes under Backman.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Backman.
Yeah, but he writes occasionally as an author called Backman or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But he does different stuff. I might do that one day because it's still verging on Hannibal-esque. So it's not like, Inspector such and such solves this crime. But I think at the moment I don't want to try and be clever. I need to stick to what I know at the moment and what I've kind of the craft that hopefully that I think I've honed, and try to get better at that. So, and it's 2 books I've got now that have come out. So, writing the 3rd, and I need to do, a lot more to establish myself in that genre.
In that genre, yeah. Actually, I like in Beneath the Dark, the paranormal investigator Ed. I actually like the fact that he called himself more of a debunker. Like he wasn't just selling, oh no, there's ghosts and there's all this and there's monsters, and the way he narrows down all his experiences to a couple that he couldn't explain. Like he's got all this experience and he comes down to the saying, which actually makes it more believable. Because he's not walking into a world where we just know this exists.
Yeah. There's a ghost. It's really nice that you say that. This is so lovely when you get feedback from people, and they say something they just have, and that was something you were kind of aiming for, because not everybody sees certain things in the book.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. And even when he talks about the 2 experiences he had, he even says, he probably just thinks it's down to the fact that he didn't have good enough equipment to suss out what it was.
Yeah.
But you get a hint. There's an agenda behind that to do with the death of his mother, or the kind of mysterious death of his mother. So the idea, I think to a certain degree, I kind of wrote it like he's hiding from his own agenda, really, because I think there's a hint that he really does want to find out there's life after death.
Yes.
So he can somehow reach his mother again. And it was very nice. I had a lot of feedback about Beneath the Dark. People saying they liked the team. Because I really tried to make the characters very believable and rounded, and you can quite sort of dismissive, really, and not think this is nonsense. This isn't happening until it really is. There's no doubt it's happening. I wanted to do that so they really cared about the characters. Otherwise, why? There's not much fun in the book. And lots of people said, "Oh, is that team coming back?" And I hadn't really thought about it, but now I'm writing the 3rd one, Voices of Silence, and Ed and John are back as a team.
And what about the Doctor?
Maybe. I won't tell you yet. There might be some other surprises in there as well, and it's nice because you think, it's going to be great. Hopefully, fans of Beneath the Dark, they're going to go, oh, great, they're back. The same way I used to love that with the James Herbert character. I'm trying to think of his name. I can't recall, but there was a character. It's a long time since I've read one of his books, to be honest. Not me. But then he came back again. It's like, yes, great, it's him again. So that was the idea. And I think the way, I don't mind me sort of whittling on, I think the biggest thing for me with getting those characters right, and I think this maybe it maybe helped me as a police officer, because you met and dealt with people from so many different walks of life, and you're in so many different situations, communication situations. It came down to natural dialogue. I think what can really spoil a book is you might have great characters, but their dialogue, when the dialogue is not natural,
forced or fake,
awful. It really, honestly, and it's things like when you have to use dialogue between characters, they start to question each other and understand what's happening, because that's basically how they solve these things. That has to be, you have to pay such attention to that to get it natural. And often it's things like someone will ask a question or make a comment, and actually the other person doesn't answer it. They sort of go off a tangent, but that happens. And now later on they might come back to that, or it just might be a snide comment or a dismissal or whatever. So I'd like to think, and from the feedback, what made those characters so real was very much the dialogue, and also the banter, they take the mick out of each other quite a lot, which again I think is a human thing, particularly under stress and under difficult situations. Particularly, again, I saw that in the police when we had to deal with some sort of pretty horrific situations.
Oh yeah,
The canteen humour afterwards, the kind of was a de-stress. And I think that and actually in Alice Malign, I tried to do a bit more with that between Alice and Gabe, because she really she don't put up with any nonsense from me. And it's army speak. But yeah, I think I like that you built that relationship between people. That humour builds relationships between people as well, particularly with Alice and Gabe, because as you know from the book, she's very withdrawn and very insular because she doesn't trust anybody. But it's almost the humour between her and Gabe that bring them together, other than circumstances.
for sure.
So again, hoping from feedback that was he doesn't give up. That was what made those characters. I try really hard with dialogue, getting that dialogue as natural as possible.
But I think in Alice Malign, I think the reason she and Gabe, is because Gabe's a hard person. He's through shit. So Alice actually is dealing mainly from the beginning really nasty humans who take advantage of children. And actually, the thing that gets me is that it seemed almost as if you created a character who's not real in her supernatural sense, but all those kids who are treated by the system and taken advantage of, and you've created like a kind of like superhero who can, I don't know, because she's so when she gets even, she doesn't mess about.
No.
And also she keeps fooling people. They keep even so she's she's a grown-up character as a child, and
that was fun to write. Again, that's really nice you said that. That's exactly what I was after. And hopefully people will find there's a certain, I hope it's humorous, where there are points as a child. She's very, very intelligent. She's very smart, but also still a child. So she'll come up with, good suggestions and very sensible suggestions in 1 minute. And then the next minute she's clapping her hands in delight because Sarah's exploding locks here and stuff. Well, hey, it's great. And then this thing, again, you see with the dialogue, there's things like when they find, they go down into the experimental place below the institute, and I'm probably going to ask, can we take him out? Yeah. Because we're going to take the dog out because he's constantly biting and being silly. So sorry about that. When she's in that that place, and they find what they think's dustbin bags, and it's body bags. She knows what's going on. She suddenly takes charge again, and Sarah almost takes a back step, even though Sarah's older. And they go up the stairs and meet Siobhan, and she's saying, Sarah's saying, I think something's a bit sort of, and then you've got Alice from the back going, body bags, body bags. So that's what's like, stop pissing around. There's body bags there.
Get to it.
She's like 8 years old, So hopefully you've got those moments in there where she just thinks, oh, for God's sake, suddenly becomes that more adult. But then she's a child again, So, but she's almost forced to be like that because she has to protect herself all the time,
And also
that's fun. That's fun writing that.
What do you call that? The collective is
the collective. They're horrible, aren't they?
But it's fun. It's almost the way things are going. Okay, if you look at the world now, you get the feel, that when we talk about the elites, in the news, the elites.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you go, well, there are people who literally in real life who get around like anyone the collective deals with, they like the Clintons, they die,
Yes. They somehow disappear, all the loose ends.
Yes, all the loose ends
disappear.
And I guess that's why I like it. It's like it's a paranormal version of the human world. Hierarchy.
Yeah.
We're up here, we're running it, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think they're all old people too. Is it? older.
Yeah, they're all octogenarians. Of course, I don't want to give it away, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
How can we say it? They want to carry on with their
carry on.
their sort of hedonistic lifestyles to a point that's obsessive, you know. But there's I made sure they had to be hideous people because of what Alice does to them in the end. But you want that to happen,
of course,
you know, because they're such hideous people, you know. And that's the only I write. Funny enough, it's Louise, my other half. When I started writing Beneath the Dark, straight away I was using F this and F that. You know, oh my God. And you know, Louise said, you know, it doesn't actually need that. You don't lose any impact, although it's real life language, if you like. You don't lose any impact from that.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, you know, that's absolutely right. So I wrote the first book, and I think the word, you know, you get shit, and I hope I'm all right saying, you know, bastard, but that's kind of really, that's kind of really, or you're a tosser or whatever. But it's normally needed, or it's taking the mick between each other. But I purposely didn't put anything other than that. And no one seemed to be bothered about that. And then it's kind of like, it worked out well, because in Alice Malign, if you notice, there's one F word, and it's right at the end when she, again, you'll know, I don't want to tell anybody, when she does something to sort of finally get her out, and she uses it. And I think it has real impact because it's the only time you hear it in the book. So fingers crossed, people are going to think, yes, you know, well, because, you want to said that as well, you know.
It's funny you say that, because I don't know if you've ever seen the Kurt Russell film, The Thing, because his last line, his last line in that film, he throws this dynamite into the mouth of this monster, and he goes, "Yeah, and fuck you too." and it because
that's the power of the line, isn't it?
And in his throat, he goes, "Yeah," like in a real piss off, "Fuck you too." And I remember as a kid watching that and going, and that actual line, I mean, I'm remembering it now 30 years later. So I can see where you're going from. I can see where
there's the impact.
Yeah, the one word can make an impact. Wow. So you were a police officer, and you've, I mean, I guess in your books, you've got cops. So obviously you draw on, I mean, are you drawing on your...
Yeah, that's very much so, because I wanted, because it was the first novel that I ever sent out. I wrote it during lockdown, and I wasn't going to send it off at all. I wrote for fun.
Oh, okay.
And Louise, my other half, said, well, look, you've got nothing to lose, send it off. And, you know, bang, here I am. But I purposely did that because I thought, well, the more authenticity it has, the more believable it is. And so I say this a lot to people when they ask about it. I try to make the books as believable as possible, because the less disbelief you have to, what's the phrase when they say suspend disbelief? That's right. The less you have to do that, the more you can think, oh, actually, you know, to a certain degree, my God, this could really happen. Surely then the things that happen in the book are more frightening or more spine-tingling, because then it could be real. If you're thinking, oh, this is absolutely ridiculous, if you're not, you know, into the fantasy or whatever, you're not approaching the book like that. You're wanting it to be a paranormal thriller. If you think this is just nonsense, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to make you jump. It's not going to scare you or give you the tingles or whatever. So yeah, that's why I went for the police side of things a lot, and the police's experiences.
And I think it works.
It creeps into Malign when the copper goes in to discover a body, and again, I tried to get a bit of humour in there with the nosy neighbour who just insists on telling him how to do his job, and that's directly from experience many times. And you have to be very polite, even though you're wanting saying, "Would you piss off and let me do my job that I have 10 years experience of?"
I can imagine.
You can't say that.
Like a cop coming in and someone saying, "What are you doing?"
I tell you what. If you want a very quick story.
Yeah.
I was we'd had a night duty, myself and the chap I was out with, and it was a really difficult one. This is about probably maybe, I don't know, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and we were dealing with quite a serious incident, which was fairly obvious. And we had this woman come around the corner and say, I don't know, something like, it was something really banal that was happening up there. And we said, well, we can't deal with it. We'll radio it through. We can't deal. And she was very, no. What do you mean you can't deal with it? And it's quite obvious what we're dealing with there. And you're like, we cannot leave it. This is a priority. Anyway, eventually she turned. I thought she'd walked off. And I turned my back and I said to Michael, what a pain in the ass that woman was. And she turned around and said, I heard that. She was going to put away from me. And my heart sank because I thought, oh my God, there's my job. And actually, my colleague was brilliant. And he took it on one side and said, he's had a really bad day. And it's this and that's happened. And he really got me out of it because she didn't complain. And it would have saved me right, actually, if she had. I remember that to this day. My stomach went when she was still there. I thought she'd wandered off.
God. That's so true to life story. It's great.
Yeah.
So, can I ask, are you planning, like, because you're now, you're independent, okay? We'll talk about from you as an independent author. Sure. Do you have any interest in book tours, doing everything yourself, like, maybe buying in bulk and then hitting the road? Things like that. Is that crossing your mind?
Yeah, it is. And actually that's the thing that I'm getting a lot of advice from, particularly from Polly Morden.
Oh, okay.
Because there's so much of that I need to do that I am working on like 24/7. And a lot of things that I'm coming across that, like you say, book tours and thinking, but how do I do that? Because I've got to buy the books, and then so I'll talk to Polly about that sort of thing, and all sorts. And I'm kind of I'd love to do book tours, but it's like buying the books is so damn expensive. Even if you go through Amazon, which they are very, very reasonable for author copies. But I think what I have to do is think small first of all.
Yeah.
And luckily, I'm very lucky to have been invited to Hertfordshire and the Filey and the Norwich Book Festivals, which is really unusual. I've only been an author for
awesome.
14 months, which is great.
No, that's fantastic.
But what it tells me, I feel really privileged to do that. What it tells me is that I've got to treat Beneath the Dark, the first one, and almost Alice Malign to a certain degree as really marketing tools at the moment to get the name and the brand and my type of story out there. And that I need to get in front of lots of people. So today, it's things like I emailed every branch of the Women's Institute today, and I don't know if you have that out in Australia, but it's like a women's guild sort of thing. I don't know what they call women. They do a lot for charity and they have local clubs, but they also have lots of speakers. So I've emailed them. I'm emailing Rotary clubs, community clubs, and libraries, and all this sort of thing, saying, look, I'm quite happy to come and do talks or workshops or whatever. And actually, I tell you what I'm using, which is brilliant, that Louise introduced me to, is the ChatGPT, the AI. Form. It is fantastic. You can put in, I've got out of that. There's lots of targeted things to do to get the name and me as a brand out there. And I'm just trying. I'm trying everything.
Yeah, trying.
So Australia, it's me, Ian Backhouse. You'll love me, honestly. Just say that name every time you get up in the morning. No, but you do. You. It's so important to do that, and I do know it's a long game. It is a long game, but I see what Polly's done and other independent authors, and as long as I accept it's a long game and I keep working hard, I'm absolutely confident that's going to go fine. I was very lucky to have a literary agent called Vanessa Holt. I contacted quite a few of them because initially I thought, do I need an agent? But Vanessa is a sort of a stalwart of the industry over here.
Yeah.
She's very, very renowned. I think I hope she'll forgive me for saying this, I think she's in her kind of mid-60s to maybe early 70s. And she's still going strong, and she's still amazing as an agent. And I know that from some of the authors I've spoken to that are with her. And but what she did, which was phenomenal, and I feel so privileged, but very very motivated from it. She got back to me, said, "Look, I've read the book," and she loved the book, and she said, "I genuinely would take you on, but I just have all the authors I can deal with." And I thought, oh, usual answer. But she did. She came back to me with advice and really valuable advice and amazing sort of motivation. She said to me, "You deserve a mainstream publisher," which I thought, oh my God, for some, genuinely, this isn't false modesty. For someone like that, to say that, you think, wow. And she said, you're a natural writer. And I thought, oh my God, because you always wonder, you get imposter syndrome and you think, the book's really any good, is anybody going to buy it? And then the last thing she did for me, not only did she offer to read it in editing, I said, no, you've done far too much anyway for nothing. Yeah. She then said, well, look, I've never done this in 40 years of my career. She said, you're more than welcome to put on your book, quote, Ian's natural writer, Vanessa Holt,
That's awesome.
Couldn't believe it. Honest to God, that's like, and whenever I doubt myself, I think of Vanessa because she had nothing to gain from telling me that. Yeah. There's nothing, no personal gain. So I think, well, that must be what she thinks.
And she's putting your reputation out there.
Yeah, who am I to sort of say, well, that's not the case. So when I get down and you think, oh, God, I haven't sold any today, but hang on, that's ridiculous. That's because I'm still doing this marketing, I'm still doing that marketing, and actually I've sold quite a few. When I get down, I just think of Vanessa, and I get a huge amount of support from Louise as well, who kicks me into touch quite a lot when I'm feeling sorry for myself. That really keeps me going. That really does, because I think, one day, hopefully, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I wouldn't. If there was a big mainstream publisher, Macmillan or whatever, I'd be an idiot if it was a good deal not to take it. Yeah. But if that doesn't come along, I stay indie because I get my work out there and I want people to enjoy the work.
Yeah.
So that was a really lovely thing to happen to me. I was really lucky.
Sorry, and have you seen Polly's TikToks?
Do you know, that's the one thing I need to start watching them. Because I do everything else, I watch everything else she does, but they're apparently very good, aren't they? Oh,
I'm telling you, they're like mini movies in a marketing sense. And, wow. And she gets across, with the, I when I saw them, I asked her, I said, who made these? And she goes, I did. And what? And they're really, the basic tools of TikTok itself created this.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad you mentioned that because I've only just started on there myself and I'm sussing out what works and what doesn't work. Because I initially did 3 or 4 trailers. I'm fairly adept with iMovie and all that sort of thing. I did some good longer trailers for Malign, which did quite well. But again, I've got quite a lot to learn from Polly in terms of those videos she does and the mock-ups she does and all that. Yeah. So that along with the thousands of other things I've got to do. I really do need to do that. And what's amazing about Polly is she's really, really busy anyway. And I know she has a very busy home life with her other half. And she's working until the wee hours, but she still has time. We only made kind of friends online. We've never met, and she took the time and still takes the time to answer my questions and really help me. We're talking. If I answer a question, it's not a one-word answer. You've got a paragraph for me and everything I need to know, and really helps me out all the time, which is amazing because I feel at the moment I don't bloody have time to do that for anyone else. No. So she's very generous like that, I hope to return that favour in whatever way I can.
And again, that goes to the whole idea of independent people helping other. It's like podcasts.
Yeah,
loads of people in the podcast world, they go on each other's podcasts. They talk, so it's like I'm making a web, a network, and it's good for everyone.
Sorry, go on. Someone suggested to me today to start my podcast, to do exactly that, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. And you feel like a team. You feel like sort of, although you don't know these people, you feel you belong to quite an elite sort of groundbreaking team that's not frightened to go forward and say, well, look, we're going to publish our work anyway.
Yeah,
it's nice.
And that's the best thing. It's the fact that you say to yourself, I'm gonna create it, and you have. I mean, you've got. Think about it. Excuse me. No one can take that away from you now. You know, you've gone from nothing. You now have 3 books, I think. Is it right, Ian?
Yeah, I've got I'm working on the 3rd book now, and there's 2 more. Well, I mean, they're going to keep coming, but there's so this is Voices of Silence, where Ed and John are back. Yeah. Then there's a standalone called The Scry of Angels, and then there's a sequel to Alice Malign, just called Alice, coming out in the next year. So someone's already said, they're looking forward to that. So
they're living in the world.
Yeah.
You've made a difference, and I'm telling you, the good thing about independent publishing is that 5 years from now, someone will be searching. Your book can be turned into a material object for that person. It'll keep going. And don't forget, you've got million. Even though, I look at my podcast, right, or my YouTube channel, it's got small amounts, but you know what it is? It's not that. That's not what it is. It's the fact that there's a possibility of other people picking it up. That's all it is.
Yeah, and you just don't know where it comes from, and suddenly, you've got people. Just finding your stuff and my stuff from kind of odd sources. Yeah, and it's always there. And I also think the more I write, the more is out there for people. And it's a constant. Well, you're building a constant amount of work, aren't you? You're building that sort of the next a body of work. That's what I was
body of work. Yeah. And like you said, I think you use the word brand quite a lot, and that's true. That's exactly what it is. Your brand, your work, your effort.